what's up? We are back.
And we are back today, and I love it. Good morning, JJ. How are you today?
Good morning, Sandra. I'm beautiful. Really happy to have you here and to do another session of this podcast with you. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling amazing. As you know, I've been doing this ice bath challenge for the last 11 days, and I feel pumped up. I feel so powerful, and I highly recommend it to anybody that wants to become an entrepreneur and make more money, to get their nervous system right first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm going to try it too. So I will
Yay!
talk to you on the podcast how that's going to.
All right. Amazing.
Amazing. So before starting the topic of this podcast, I want to tell you that I'm going to upload in the description, if you're watching on YouTube. I'm going to search if you can do it in Spotify. I don't know right now, but I'm going to upload a file that is a basic image that is going to show a technique that I called Imperfect Marks Technique. Okay.
Okay.
It uses pomodoros that are basically a technique by a guy that I forgot his name. That consists of you work 25 minutes and you rest 5 minutes, and you do that on repeat. Usually you do it 3 times, and then you take a 15 minutes break and you keep doing that. That's, according to him, the most effective way to balance rest and work.
Nice.
To be effective. So I use that technique, and I also use a concept that is time boxing, that is based on there's a guy that is Pareto, the Pareto's law, that he says that the time is going to expand or constrain according to the time that you give, or the time allotted to that task. So if you give to do something 30 minutes, it's going to take 30 minutes. But if you give to that same thing 3 hours, it's going to take 3 hours.
Okay.
So that's like the principle. So it uses those two techniques. You can see the image. And if you have any questions, I will be really happy to help you with that. Okay.
I'm definitely going to try it. I never heard of that method, but I love it, the time boxing, right?
Yeah.
So you give yourself the time, you allow yourself, okay, this task is going to take me 15 minutes. And then because you said so, then that's what it is. That's kind of basically what it is, right?
Yep, but I actually did a remix. It's actually in a prototype stage, you know. I'm not sure it's going to work for everybody, but I'm going to give a brief description of what I'm doing, because I think that is going to be helpful.
Okay.
So basically the process is the following. I set a Pomodoro timer for 25 minutes. Okay. So I press go, the timer is going. Then I have another timer that is for 5 minutes. To give you a little bit of context, I heard that Elon Musk, the guy that made Tesla, PayPal, and that guy, that guy sets his time in 5-minute chunks or 5-minute blocks. Okay. So I thought how I can make that, but don't have like a planning time that is going to take me like 5 hours to plan my whole day in 5-minute increments. That will be ineffective. I feel that. So I thought, okay, so I'm going to start a Pomodoro, and then I'm going to set a timer for 5 minutes. And then I'm going to think what is going to be the most effective thing that I can do right now. And I try to think about the rule that is the 80-20 rule. That is basically that 80% of your results are going to be represented by the 20% of your work. So usually the things that give more return to your investment, the thing that gives you more value, are very few. And we actually work just to feel busy and not because we're doing something really effective. So that rule is to give you context. And you have to ask always yourself, what if this task that I'm doing right now is easy? So how can I make it easy? How I can take away the fluff and just keep with the essential? So ask that and think which task will be the most effective that I can do. Simple task in 5 minutes. Because I think that if you keep things simple, you're going to be the most effective. So you do that, then the 5 minutes timer rings, try to just breathe. Whatever happens is okay. That's why this technique is called Imperfect Marks Technique.
Nice.
Just do the task. Just finish the task and forget about it being perfect. It's just a 5-minute thing. That's also a reason why to keep it short, because it's not a big deal. So if you completed the task, you're going to make a mark on paper. Let's say that I just completed a task. I take a Sharpie. Sounds pretty good. And I do a mark.
Okay.
Like I do just a line like this.
There. Okay.
And what that helps you with, it gives you gratification. It makes it a visual representation that you've done it. That makes it satisfying, and it's a way to build an habit. Okay, that's an idea that I took from the book, The Power of Habit. It's a pretty good book. I recommend it. It's pretty famous, but I love it.
The Power of what?
Of Habit.
Oh, I never read that. Who wrote that?
James Clear, if I'm not wrong. James Clear.
And you recommend it?
Yeah, 100%.
I have a hard time. In Ayurveda, I'm just gonna say something here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Learn
for sure.
in India, they talk about having a routine. Is routine different than habits?
I think that a routine is a set of habits.
Okay. Because I have a hard time having a routine. Like I wake up every day and there's no consistency. I just do.
You just flow. Go with the flow.
I just flow. So what would you suggest for a person like me that at my age as well? I'm over 50. I'm at home all the time. And I want to create a really amazing set of habits that will create a healthy routine for me rather than just living in Lolo land all the time.
Oh, that's a beautiful question. So I have some ideas.
Okay.
Because this is not simple, but we always have to try to keep things to the essential things, but are things that have more essential things than others, you know what I mean? So basically, you need to take into account that having a rigid structure, for example, this technique that I'm sharing with you is like training wheels. I don't feel that will be ideal that you keep having this technique for the rest of your life. This is something for perfectionists that need to make imperfect action and to be able to say, just do something 5 minutes imperfect, and to have that clarity that you are seeing the timer right there. Also put the timer right there that you'll be able to see it, and to make a mark. It's going to be training wheels. It's going to be able to help you to change a pattern, a behavioral pattern that you have ingrained in your psyche for so long.
Okay.
But if you are not perfectionistic, I wouldn't recommend this, because I do believe that being able to be fluid and being able to channel creative energy and being able to be intuitive and expressive is beautiful. However, I do believe also in balance. I believe that the ego is in the extremes. Okay.
Yes.
So what I will recommend to you is that you do need structure, but that structure need to allow flexibility within that structure. It's as if you have a channel that of a river, for example, of the ocean. The ocean will be that fluidity. And you have a channel that sets limit. The ocean can move freely within that channel,
Yes.
but the channel is giving that fluidity a general direction. So how that will work in concrete terms? Just say, for example, in the morning, you're going to give yourself a channel that is, the morning is for creative work. Just work for myself, and I'm going to flow, but within these constraints. I'm going to focus on art. I'm going to focus on putting music. I'm going to dance, so on. Then in the afternoon, from this time, I'm going to take into account the time for rest, because it's crucial. You don't want to burn out.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to have, for example, the afternoon is going to be your time for deep work. That is going to be undistracted, focused work.
Oh, I love this.
And in that time, you are going to move freely. You're going to flow, but you're going to have a limit. You are not going to be able to include things that are other than work, you know?
Okay.
And in the evening, you can set a time for something that is, if you're like me, I'm a morning person. So at the evening, my energy is lowest. So I'm not going to set up deep work at the evening. I usually set it up in the morning because it's when I have the most energy. So in the evening, maybe you set something that you love. Maybe you do the creative work or art at the evening, or just having time to just rest. Okay. So in that way, you're going to have structure. And what I recommend is that within those chunks of activities, for example, the deep work session, every time that you're going to start a session, you're going to plan, but it's not going to be a plan that is rigid. From this time to this time, I'm going to do management work. And from this time, I'm going to have calls, not exactly like that, for the type of energy. For something that is extremely fluid, I will say, you need to have a plan because it's really useful, but just define tasks that you're going to do that are not going to be specific about time. You're just going to say, I'm going to do this, what I feel right now to do, what I feel that I want to do right now in this second. So you do it, it's not in order. You're going to just check those tasks in the order that you feel like doing them in that time. So you're still flowing, but you're going to have more clarity. And I do recommend that from time to time. For example, you could have a day in a week that you are going to set things that you want to do in the next week.
Okay.
But those things are just to give you clarity. But if are not like meetings or something that someone else counts on you to be on this specific hour, you're not going to put a time constraint to those tasks. You're just going to have that list on site. You can paste it on a wall so you don't forget about it. And you're going to always, when you do something, you're going to do the check mark, because it's really useful to have a visual cue that you made something, that makes something satisfactory. And that gives you gratification and reinforces the habit, makes it, you want to keep doing it so you can make more check marks. And that will be my suggestion. In summary, is just to have big general activities that you're going to be able to flow within those activities, and just have clarity on what you're going to do on those activities by writing tasks. But you're going to feel and move according to your intuition on which task you're going to do in what order, but you're going to do them all at that time. And keep the activities effective by keeping them simple, not simplistic, but just simple.
So in this context, then I want to say that even though I don't write anything out, that's what I do in the morning, because I have the most energy in the morning, and
Yeah, me too.
I want my energy to go to the most beautiful, profound thing, which is my communion with Earth. So I go outside. I have no shoes. My hair is flying everywhere. I'm walking around. I'm talking to the dogs, the trees, and then in the afternoon is when I do my work. So
Mhm.
so I'm happy to inform that I didn't know that I did have a routine because it's so
It's
woo.
vague.
Yeah, it's
But
so woo.
that's not like a problem because,
Mhm,
for example, not everybody is that structured. You
mhm.
know, you have someone uh, that's like Elon Musk, or there's a book that is named Get Things Done, or
Okay.
GTD. Like
Mhm.
in People That Love Productivity, that's a book that is
Right.
really famous and is really structured, but there, and you have to define tasks and be really specific. But there are people, for example, I love that, I really recommend them to watch them, the Minimalist. They have a podcast, a YouTube channel, they have a documentary. I love those guys. And
Mhm.
one of those guys just says, before he made tasks for every single thing that he wanted to do, but after that he started just to flow and just to focus on action and not that much on planning, because he was feeling that planning was getting in the way. It was
Yes.
becoming a distraction,
Mhm.
because he was being scared. Sometimes we feel scared of doing the action because it's the most emotional difficult thing to do sometimes.
Yes.
So planning cannot get in the way of action. So he felt that to-do list, he does a today list. How does he
Mhm.
call it? Something like that. And he just write 3 things or less that he wants to accomplish in a day, and nothing else. And he just focused on flowing. And for him, that's wonderful. But we have to take into account that something that worked for someone is not going to work for everyone.
Mhm.
So that's why, yeah.
And I want to say, like, in my business, I have a team member. He
Mhm.
is very, by the book. He wants to write everything out. Everything has to be scheduled. Everything has to be sketched. And I'm chaotic. I can't do any of that.
Uh-huh.
So he gets so frustrated with me because I show up to record the videos and he's like, "Did you do a script?" I was like, "No. Why do I need to do a script? I'm going to, because if you have a script, that's the way it should be and it should be perfect." And I'm like, so uh, we have a lot of confrontations
Yeah.
because he wants to be structured and everything to be perfect, and I believe the action and being imperfect is who I am, and why am I going to change now if I love who I am. So
Yeah.
I totally understand what you're saying, but I do love that I had just discovered that I do have a routine. it's just not it's just not in the schedule, and it's not rigid, but I do
Not
then
really.
have a routine based on what you described, because that's what I do. I do
Excellent.
whatever in the morning. I cook because I like to eat the food that I cook. So that takes a lot of my time during the day, but that's
But you
being
enjoy
part
it.
of, yeah, being in my feminine power, feeding people, loving the energy that comes when you feed people. And then in the afternoon, I close everything. I change. I dress nice, and then I do whatever I decided to do for the day. I give myself some tasks. I want to accomplish these 3 things, 4 things, and I do it.
Oh, nice.
But if I don't do them, I feel bad. I feel guilty.
Yeah,
So
got it.
so that's what I try not to write too many things down, because I want to give myself the the chance that if I don't want to do something, I just don't.
Yeah,
But but
actually,
mhm.
there's an
But that's
idea,
just me.
a beautiful idea. I sometimes forget the names of the people that keep beautiful ideas. But I'm going to write down that I'm going to share the names of these guys.
Okay.
I'm going to write it now. In the description, you're going to see the guy's name. And they have a book, well, several. And in one of those books that is called Make Time, they say that you need to have a highlight because that's what makes life memorable. That's what makes life enjoy. That's what helps you to enjoy your life. Because if you don't have one thing in your day that you feel that was the highlight of the day, every day is going to become just a blur and you're going to forget about your day. So he just sets one thing that is going to be the thing that is going to take in average 1 hour to 1 hour 30 minutes, that if he does that thing, he's going to be satisfied. And that is something that is urgent, that is something that is important, or is something that is satisfactory, but it's something that he wants to do nonetheless. And that's something that we all recommend to you too.
Nice. And then since we're talking about this, my son recommended a technique called Kaisen, which is a Japanese technique. Have you heard of?
Yeah.
And I love it because it's as little as 1 minute. He said, just do 1 minute of exercise. If that's all the time you have, do 3 minutes, do 5 minutes, whatever time. And then you did it. And then the next day, if you have more time, then do it for 2 minutes until you get to 15 minutes or an hour. And I thought, this is lovely, especially for working out, which sometimes we don't want to do, but it's necessary for the body. I tend to use the Kaisen formula. So if I only have 5 minutes, I go outside. I mean, if I only have means in my mind, I'd only want to do it for 5 minutes. So I just go out there, I lift the weights, I do, and I'm like, yeah, I did it.
Excellent. Congrats.
Yeah. So I definitely will put that into our little conversation today. Then what matters is the action we take with the things we want to do. The planning sometimes holds us back and it makes us afraid of the outcome.
Yeah, sure. And by the way, Kaizen, I just knew the name. I didn't knew what the technique was about.
Oh, okay.
It's really helpful to hear it. Nice.
Yes,
thank you.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. So,
and according to what you said, that planning holds us back. I think that is true, but it's also helpful to have some planning. Like the essentials is very useful because it's as if you were in a war and you were like the military leader of that war, and you have to have a strategy, because if not, your troops are going to die. You cannot 100%. Go to the war and whatever happens, I'm here. Just kill them. No.
Yeah,
100%.
But
you cannot obsess about the strategy.
Yeah.
Because if you do that, you're going to be all day, all night there, and your troops are going to be inactive. And if you don't do any action, you're going to receive an attack, a surprise attack, and you're going to die. So always you need to find that sweet spot that is going to be different for everybody, but there's a sweet spot. That's the point. So I feel that we can go ahead with the general topic, or what do you want to say? Excuse me.
I want to ask just a quick question that maybe is not valid with this.
Every question is valid, right?
Okay, but the habit thing, you think it could work for somebody to fade out an addiction? Let's say you're addicted to coffee and you drink coffee all day, and then at night you can't sleep. So is there any way that you think that they're creating this habit thing? Like, okay, I'm not gonna, how do you not drink coffee when you, how you get rid of that habit? Do you think that creating new habits will impact over
Addictions?
addiction?
That's a great question. I love those type of questions too. And actually, the thing that helps most for addictions, I feel, that is the 12-step program that started for Alcoholics Anonymous.
Okay.
And it's basically a program that is based on knowing and having clarity that you have a problem, that you don't have control of that problem right now because it became an addiction, and that you need to surrender in a way to a higher power that is going to allow you to step by step letting go of that addiction. However, that's something that is going to be helpful, having a support group, having people that going to give you a different environment, because you need to take into account that right now your environment is triggering that addiction that you have right now. But apart from that, I really recommend you to research the 12-step program if you have an addiction, by the way, that is affecting your quality of life.
Okay.
But apart from that, having that understanding of how an habit works is going to be really helpful too. So you need, according to the book, The Power of Habit, you need to make a habit stick, to build a new habit. You need to make it obvious or really clear. You need to make it attractive, second.
Okay.
The third is that you need to make it simple, really simple and easy to do. And the fourth one is that you need to make it satisfactory or gratifying. So if you want to take a habit away, if you want to get rid of a habit, you need to make the opposite. You need to make that habit, you need to change your environment so the habit is hidden.
Okay.
You don't want to see that thing that triggers your habit. If it's a lot of coffee.
Get rid of the coffee maker.
Yeah, for example, in that case, then you need to make the, give me 1 second. The second part is that you make it unattractive. So you want to think about every single way that habit is making you uncomfortable and that is affecting your quality of life. You know, and you need also to pair that with something that is really attracted to you. So every time that you didn't make that thing that is affecting you, you're going to do something that you love. In my case, will be to hear a song that I love and dance every single time. So in that way, you're going to make those things. And then you need to make it really hard, really complex to take coffee. Really hard. For example, you need to, well, get rid of every single thing related to coffee. You need to tell every single friend that you're not going to take coffee anymore. So it's going to be then hard for you to tell your friend that you drank coffee another time, and so on. You need to make it hard. And the last one, you need to make it uncomfortable, not gratifying to get coffee.
Okay.
So if you change those 4 things, thanks to the book, because the book's really good, I think that is a step that is going to help you. Of course, saying it is much harder than doing it. And if you have an addiction, I mean, anyone in the audience have an addiction, it's not something that I taking it lightly. I'm not saying that just do that, it's easy. No, we empathize with you. We know that it's hard, but we also know that you can do it. It takes time. Be compassionate with you. That's part of self-love, but have also the self-respect that is necessary to take the action, because if not, you're going to suffer, and we don't want that for you and from anybody. So that's it.
Excellent answer. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
So you're very welcome. So I think that we're going to restart the Zoom call because it's going to interrupt us. So let's restart the Zoom call.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, we're back. So we're back. we're going to talk about what's the situation in business right now, in terms of where business is going, in terms of Web 3.0, crypto world, metaverse, and so on. So what thoughts do you have in regards to that, Sandra?
So in case you haven't noticed, the technology is advancing rapidly, and the internet is going to shift from Web 2.0 to Web 3.0. So it's important that we get ready for this shift. So right now in Web 2.0, we have websites where people can go and purchase our things, and it's very impersonal. When we switch to Web 3.0, it's going to be more virtual reality and augmented reality. So we're going to be able to really, really expand in everything that we always wanted to become. So I think the most important part of shifting into this new way of doing business is getting your mindset ready, because a lot of people are feeling afraid of using cryptocurrency, of switching the way they do business, because, you know, when we get comfortable in how we do things, we don't want to change it. And the way the future of business, the way it's going, is going towards more of virtual reality. I don't know if you're aware, Snoop Dogg and Eminem just created a video in the metaverse, and they were like two little characters singing.
Amazing.
It wasn't them, it was their avatar, and it was so cool.
Oh, sure. Amazing.
So this is where we're heading into, transactions being becoming alive through NFTs. They are then stored in a blockchain for security. That's going to be the new way of doing business. So it's important that everybody learns, at the very least, the terminology of where we're heading to. Because if you want to be an entrepreneur, and like most people aspire, not everybody that wants to be an entrepreneur will become one. But if you're an aspiring entrepreneur, it's important that you understand where the trends are going, where the evolution of technology is taking us. And instead of resisting this, oh, I'm not going to do that because I want real people, real contact. But for the last 2 years, everything has been going on in Zoom, more virtual retreats, working from home. So Web 3.0 and virtual reality is nothing less than the result of what we've been going through, if you put it into that perspective. So more NFTs used to sell your products, services, and goods, and instead of having a conventional way of doing business, we're going to go into this new space using cryptocurrency, using blockchain technology, creating a different business model, and knowing that it's going to work, because that's what we're heading to. If you see some of the big merchants like Nike, they already launched their virtual reality shoes, and they're selling for, like, some of the shoes are selling for $30,000, and you can't even wear the shoes. They're for your avatar.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's amazing.
So Gucci has launched their metaverse collection. The banks, Chase Bank, which is one of the biggest banks in the world, have created a lounge for people to go and be in that space. Paris Hilton has a whole island that you can go visit, and you can kind of feel close to her, and because she shows up there in her avatar. So you're gonna get to do things that you will never be able to do, because you can't reach some of those people in real life.
Yeah, I got it.
So that's how I see in my experience and how I can forecast where we're heading to. And it's important that everybody gets together with this new way of doing business and feel happy instead of resisting. Resistance doesn't, in my opinion, resistance makes you old and wrinkly and doesn't yield any positive things.
Okay. And why
Yeah.
do you think people might resist this new technology? And what would you say to those people to
What
help
would
them
I
to see?
suggest?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so everything, because we're human beings, right? And we have this, even though we have a body and we have a mind, we are not the body and we're not the mind. But our mind have these thoughts and it gets caught up in the, how you call that? What you do every day? You do every day.
The pattern, your pattern.
Yeah, your pattern, what you do every day, you become comfortable with what you do, right?
Yeah.
That's human. That's humanity at its best. We get comfortable with our everyday routine, yeah. And then anything that is gonna take us out of routine, we're like ah, right? Because
Yeah, I get it.
because what happens in the body, and I think this is important, so to people to understand why we don't want to change, we're not so eager to change, because to change the body, the emotion comes here, but the body has to create all these different neurological connections. They're gonna help you create this new personality, this new trait, this new habits that you want to develop. So if you want to do something, but you don't create this new neural path in your body, you're not going to be able to do it.
Okay.
And it's just part of being human. We are electrical beings, we are energy beings. So it's important to honor the restrictions you're feeling, but not feed into them. Instead, do the work to be able to progress in transition into new feelings and emotions, new connection, new patterns inside of you. So that's why it's so difficult for us to change, because the body gets accustomed to having the same pattern, emotion, same sending an impulse, receiving it is always the same. When you change it, oh, what happened here? Yeah. So that's why it's so difficult for us to really shift into any direction. I mean, it's possible because we all do it, but that's the physical and organic analysis of the body, and why it's so difficult for us to see a new idea and to embrace it right away. Because we have all this doubt, ego comes into place.
Sure.
And it's important to understand that when we're in business, we're not just business. It's not just about the money. It's about who you are, how you show up, yeah, what your thoughts are. So when we're trying to, when technology, because the reality is technology is taking us to this new level of doing business.
Yeah.
So, resisting it is the same as when the cell phones came to be. Some people didn't want to have cell phones. They didn't want to be found. Now show me one person that doesn't have a freaking cell phone. Right?
Yeah, totally.
But we were afraid at the beginning of using this new technology, but it's because we are human beings. This is our nature, to be fearful all the time when change occurs. What is the beautiful thing is that not only we have this fear emotion that keep us alive, but we also have the opposite, which is this desire of expansion, of wanting more, of new adventures. All these new things require new neurological pathways. And when we dare to go into the direction of a new dream, and you push for it, then your body becomes accustomed, and then that becomes part of you again, and then you become comfortable again, and then that's just the circle of life. That's how I see it, in my opinion, and in my experience, how I have lived life. I noticed that's is human. That's what holds us back the most: the fear and our biochemistry inside the body, because we're accustomed to our process to occur with our knowledge, but we impact it with our actions every day. So it's important to recognize your humanity and not be saying, "Oh, I'm this, I'm that." No, I'm human, so I fuck up. That's it.
Yeah, I I love that idea of transcending just your identity based on this exact body that you have right now and this state that you are right now, and knowing that you are not this, you're something much higher, much beyond just your body and your identity right now. And an idea that helped me a lot when I was much younger to start opening my mind. In another episode, we will talk about my story and our stories. But I had a point in my life that I was very attached to a worldview, but very strongly attached, and I didn't want it to change. And in the philosophy class on school, one day I heard an idea of a philosopher. I forgot his name. Oh my.
I love it.
I have to work on that.
No, never change that, because I love it.
Okay. But actually, he said, in my words, that how can you judge a concept or an idea and say that it's wrong if you haven't heard it yet? You know? And that idea of hearing a concept is not just, what is that? Oh, okay, no, I don't like it. No, it's not that. It's really giving it an opportunity, and really, if you don't want to learn what is the future of Web 3.0, cryptocurrency, and so on and so forth, then don't judge it. But if you want to see if it's going to be helpful or not, then you will have to really get your hands dirty, and you will have to learn and use it, put it into practice, like see a way you can apply it to a project, for example, and then you're going to see, oh, this might work or not. But only if you have that openness of mind, you're going to be able to expand and enjoy life, ultimately enjoy business, enjoy life. If you are open, if you are not, just think, what if I'm wrong? Because a lot of times we just think that one is wrong, that one is wrong. We judge a lot in the outside, but what if that same thing that I'm saying that he's wrong, what if that same person is saying that to me? That maybe that person thinks the same thing about me. So who's wrong? And he's intelligent too. He has issues, he has problems, he has a story, he has a life, and he thinks and has reason, logic, and so on. So why, with the same resources of logic, reason, intuition, spirituality, so on, he thinks that I'm wrong? Might I be deluded? Might I be wrong? So that's like the principle. The principle is that always a truth is always a half truth. And you need to take all these ideas in mind. And the invitation here is to do your research. We can talk more about the specifics, but the general invitation is that only if you learn by yourself, you're going to see the potential. If not, please don't judge this, because it's based on a bias and not on the information.
100%, totally. And I wanna interject here and say something. I was listening to this podcast yesterday, and the person, I don't know who it was or nothing, don't ask me, but it was a doctor. He was a doctor speaking, and he changed a concept in my head. What he said just blew my mind. He
Okay.
said, if you want to see humanity at its worst, go to an emergency room, and you will see humans at their worst stage. People that are trying to kill themselves, overdose, drunk,
Mm.
stabbed. And then he said something that was like, he said, everybody, no matter how rich or poor, everybody has this body, and it's this me too. And
Mhm.
everybody suffers from the same things, mental issues, physical issues. So when you are looking at somebody that is multi-billionaire and you feel jealous of them, or you don't, because they're just a human, they have the same body, they suffer from anxiety, they have issues going to do number two, they have that you could possibly imagine that you are suffering from, they're suffering from too, because they're no different than you are, because we're
Mhm.
all human, we're all the same. So it's basically, when you want to take somebody out of a pedestal, imagine them going to the bathroom taking a poop. And then that will bring their humanity back into their life. And I
Yeah.
thought, because we tend to put like people that are very successful with money, that they are super, oh my god, these people are super, but no, these people have to poop, and they burp, and they fart, and they cry, and they fall, and they hurt themselves, and they
Mhm.
go to the doctor because they have issues that are out of their control. So there is no difference in between uh, that super rich person and the other person, but
Yeah.
how we see life. So in business is the same. When you want to start a new business, you want to create wealth for yourself. Is you start comparing yourself to others, or looking at other people's position.
Mhm.
Mm, it's not always the healthiest thing to do.
Totally.
Yeah.
And that same thing of imagine other people doing poop. Imagine it when we also get inflated sometimes. And we
Mm-hmm.
also think that we have the reason every time and so
The
on.
answers. Uh-huh.
Sometimes remind yourself that you do poop too. And that maybe other person has the answer.
Yes, I
That's the
love
other
it.
way to see that.
Yes,
Mm.
100%. When you think that you are all that and your ego is overinflated, remember that you're just a human being, and remember you're
Yeah.
vulnerable and all that stuff. So that brings you down back to reality. And it's important to, in business, to recognize your humanity. That's what I always tell people.
Yeah.
You're not robots. Mhm.
Yeah, because we see business as something that is like uh, managed by robots or something like that, highly structured. But ultimately, are humans sharing value? I feel that is that.
And
And
that's that.
yeah, if you lose track of the humanity in what you do, then you're going to get into unhealthy situations. So
Yes,
that's what we want to avoid.
yes. So
Beautiful.
I hope that our conversations help some other human beings out there. And I
Mhm.
also want to encourage whoever is listening to us to ask us questions. And even if they want to be a guest in our podcast so that we can pick their brain, I think it'd be lovely, don't you think?
Yeah.
Okay,
We will love that.
okay, all right.
Completely.
And
So,
then I also want to mention the future of our podcast, the things
mhm.
we talk about. So you wanna say it? What we want to do with our podcast?
Okay. So yeah, I would love that. We are thinking about also having like a challenge ourselves that is going to be business related, because we talk about personal development and business, but we want to show you in real life so you get inspired, because we want to inspire you. So the challenge will be to have a financial goal. Like right now, in my case, and with our work, will be to get from someone that has a average income, for example, to get to 5K per month, and to show you that process. Then we have more projects in regards to that will be that and beyond, but we're going to share that with you, how we're going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because in that way it's going to be actionable to you too, so that you do it with us.
Yeah. So we can create a challenge and then see if other people want to join us.
Mm-hmm.
and then map out the how to do it. And then we all have to do it and see what happens. I love it. I can't wait.
Oh, I love it too. So we're going to share that, and we will love your feedback too. Please, you can share your thoughts, any suggestions. We will love to hear that. And yeah, I think that also we can talk about those steps in a next podcast session that we have. Talk about how that is going to look in actionable steps, so that you can follow us in the process. I think that that's it for today. What do you think?
Yes, that's it. And then I can't wait. I can't wait to see how this is gonna play out, and I can't wait to impact people's life, especially women. They are in some kind of space. They want to learn how to make money in this digital work, but they're not sure. Maybe they have low self-esteem, or they've been just recently divorced, or they're alone. I want to help these women to become self-independent, self-sufficient again. In even no matter what age, 60, 70, 80, you can do this. No, as long as you have breath and you have a cell phone, anyone can do it. So I definitely want to inspire some of the women out there that might be, especially here in the United States with everything that is happening, to uplift the women potentiality. And of course, for that to happen, we need a strong masculine presence, which is why you're here.
Oh, that's lovely. Much love.
Okay.
Very grateful with you, the audience, and you, Sandra, for everything, your attention. And till next time, see you later.
Bye.
Cheers.